on the suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Okay.
Now you're more fluent.
He got free!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to the All American Hoops Podcast, episode 35, which is, I don't know why I only started this last week. You're doing numbers because I really don't think about numbers a ton. I know that I think Matt brought up Sam Hauser on episode 30. I wore my Paul Pierce jersey last week. I guess 35, the only one I could think of is Kevin Durant on the Warriors. I'm sure there are others that I could think of, but actually not really. Actually, 35 isn't really too common of a number. But yeah, I'm back in the 11 Muriel Place household, the Driscoll household. We got last week I was on vacation in Brigantine Beach. Did the podcast solo there. That was an awesome episode. Shout out to my Uncle Tony and my cousin James. They were watching it as it was going on. And John and Matt couldn't make that episode. They were enjoying themselves at the Mets game, which can't blame them for that at all. But yeah, it'll be the first time in 2 weeks that I'm having another Driscoll on, because last week I was solo, and then the week before it was just me and Tyler from Hoop Venue on. That was a great episode, which you should take a look at it when you can. We compared our top 25s, which we'll be doing something similar today. We'll be ranking the top 10 point guards today. Matt and I will be sharing our lists. That'll be towards the end of the episode. Pick a side did theirs, so we're going to do ours as well. Pick a side, friends of the show. 3 of the 4 of them have been on. So we're doing that. Today, Team USA clobbered Team Brazil in the quarterfinals. They got the semifinals next week now. Team USA has been awesome to watch, as obviously, as you can tell by the title of the show in the background border. You can tell that I'm an extremely patriotic guy. Yes, sorry, I just got a text from Team USA, the top 10 point guards, and then also Josh Eberle from Canada also released a question from Twitter, which I made a TikTok about yesterday. It was very controversial about which players to build around. So we're very, very excited to deep dive into that. Great show ahead of us, and this is the All American Hoops Podcast. Welcome to the show. For the first time in 2 weeks, I'm joined by my younger brother, Matt Driscoll.
Chris, it's an honor to be back after my 2-week hiatus. Tuesdays just didn't feel right. I was at the Mets game last week, which was awesome. Saw a Sean Manai masterclass, but I did miss the show. You did say it's the Kevin Durant episode, but I would like to refute that. I will say it's the Robert Williams on the Trailblazers episode, or it's the Luke Cornett on the Bucks episode, or it's the Darvin Ham episode. More so than the Kevin Durant episode.
I'm sure you didn't look that up furiously as I mentioned that in the pregame show at all. Did you have any idea that Robert Williams is 35 on the Blazers before I said that, or no?
I did know that. I would not have remembered or said that. I had no idea about Darvin Ham and no idea about Luke Cornett. So
yeah, no idea.
I did look on Basketball Reference for those.
Perfect. All right, so awesome show ahead of us. As I mentioned in the pregame show, Team USA has been playing awesome lately. They after a slow start to the the expedition games, they really didn't have a ton to play for. They were just kind of plugging in and plugging out different rotations and trying to figure out everyone's strengths and weaknesses. Even after game one, Serbia, that was a big win, but there's still clearly a lot of controversy there. But since then, everyone has seemed to figure each other out. And though Team Brazil doesn't historically have a really good basketball history of good basketball, it was still awesome to see Team USA. They really clicked a ton today. Which, before I give this next statement, for all the children watching this, there are 4 viewers right now, and I'm sure there's going to be more kids tuning in later. Do not text and drive. Be safe while you're behind the wheel. If you get a phone call from your mother or your girlfriend, pull into your parking lots. Do it there. Do not text and drive. However, if there is an important basketball game going on, then you have a podcast to do about that game in an hour and a half. Make sure you buy a phone holder for the dashboard, so you can place your phone and you can keep your eyes on the road while also having peripheral vision watching the game. Do not text and drive. Do not message anything. I had to put them on my teacher hat right. My teacher had right there really quick to let you know, because I was driving around today. I had to do some driving around. I had to do some teacher duties actually, because I did have to pick up some books. But however, I didn't want to watch the game as well. I was able to catch the first half, and not only did I have responsibilities, Matt has responsibilities as well. The brand new corporate bitch of the world he wasn't able to tune into the game at all, unfortunately. He is 9 to 5. The game was 3:30 until about a little after 5ish. So super unfortunate that we can't really deep dive too deep into the game. But yeah, I was able to watch the first half, most of the first half, I should say. So, and that was a pretty cool thing it was a pretty cool thing to see. Because as I mentioned, Team USA is playing awesome. Devin Booker had 18 points. Joel Embiid went off today, 14 points. But I think he had like 9 points. It was either 9 or 11 points in the first half. He was like, he looked the most comfortable that he had. Than he usually does on a regular Tuesday night in the regular season, not when the lights are brightest, because I guess that's how he feels more comfortable there. But before we dive deep into the game, Matt, I know you probably haven't watched a ton of Team USA in general, because those are during the day. But do you have any takeaways on how things are going so far?
So like you said, I unfortunately could not catch the game today because I am one of the newest corporate slaves in America. I am waiting for this podcast to get big and blow up so we can coast off of this podcast. So that's the dream. But I was able to box score watch, which is some people's favorite thing to do on NBA Twitter. But I saw LeBron played well again. It's insane how awesome he is, especially this Olympics. Like, he's just proving that even though he's 40 years old, he's still a top 10. Some people still have him in their top 5 player in the league. I saw Devin Booker played well. I saw Anthony Edwards played well. And I saw Joel Embiid played well in the first half, which is shocking because he sat last game because Steve Kerr cannot figure out how to put 12 people in a 40-minute game. Like, Chris, you coached my rec basketball team in 7th and 8th grade. You figured out how to get everybody in.
I did.
And it's not like Steve Kerr's coaching kids that can't use their left hand either. He's coaching the greatest players in the world, and he's still struggling to get them in. I don't understand it. But all in all, at Team USA, it is working. Not whatever he's doing. Whatever the players are doing is working. They clobbered Brazil, as you said earlier. So great win for the country. And I believe they play Serbia in the semifinals. So get a rematch of that.
Absolutely. And I spent the first 25 minutes of last week's podcast because obviously I had the show to myself. So I figured I'd make my soapbox, spend most of it about Jason Tatum, which Jason Tatum had hands down his best game last. I want to say it was on Sunday. It was when we just got back from vacation. So yeah, it was on Saturday. Saturday, Jason Tatum had his best game. He had 8 points in the first half, a couple assists. He just looks so much more comfortable out there because he's actually playing now, which is awesome. However, he was the 11th guy to come off the bench today. Or no, not to come off the bench. He was the second to last guy to come off the bench today. I don't even know if Halliburton played that so much. He did play. He played 8 minutes. But yeah, Tatum looked. He wasn't playing his role, so like his usual on the Celtics. So he's not gonna look 100% comfortable, but he still looked pretty solid. He played really solid defense. He had a block. Shot it like it was a guy like the shot clock. He went up for a poster, which he absolutely got clobbered on. But that didn't get called a foul. But then, however, I really wish that I could play this, but I know the Olympics are very strict with their copyright issues. End of the first half. They barely. I could tell that like LeBron and Tatum definitely didn't draw this up. You could tell like it was just like a regular thing. LeBron totally like threw up an alley up to Tatum, and then Tatum threw it down like the last couple of seconds of the half. It was the best. It was the best like take advantage of the defender falling asleep situation since Matt and I's rec league game 2 weeks ago. That we could play, but I don't know if I have that video saved. We really caught a defender sleeping in the beginning. That was the beginning of the second half, not the end of the first half. That was our best game of the year, probably. Even though, we didn't have too many of those. But
John, our brother, who started working, so could not make the pod. Also stopped showing up to the rec league games, and all of a sudden we started winning games. I don't know if that's a coincidence or we just got demoted to the B League. I think that might be more the case.
Maybe in the C League, actually, to be honest with you. Yeah, shout out Pat Ward, by the way. Yeah, he's a phenomenal player and a fantastic captain as well. One more thing, actually. Yeah, since we're talking about our personal lives now, I was trying to think of like which of your friends that I can make fun of, but I don't think any of your current friends that like from high school or were on our basketball league teams that I could take a jab at for like dribbling with left hands. But so I couldn't make any jokes there, but that's okay. Yeah, but as Matt mentioned, Serbia on Thursday. Like as much as we love Nikola Jokic on the show, I don't think that's not gonna be too close of a game. It'll be. I'm sure it'll be a lot of the same thing. Like Jokic is gonna be holding his own. Maybe even Serbia. Maybe like in the Jokic minutes, it's like a very, very tight matchup. But then in the minutes that he's off, they're gonna get killed, which is what I'm fully expecting to happen.
Yeah, what happened last game? It was in the. I forget how many minutes he played. He was even in the game. He wasn't plus or minus. And then he played 32 minutes. I think in the 12 minutes he was out. I want to say he played 30 minutes, but I'm not sure. The Serbia team was minus 26. So
that's right. Yeah,
I hope that happens again. U.S. wins by 26, but I'm expecting that.
Speaking of which, and I know I said in the agenda only Team USA aspect, but how wild was that? Canada was supposed to be the number 2 team. They just lost to Germany. So wild stuff going on. Jamal Murray. We'll have a conversation about him when we talk about our point guards. But just crazy thing to see. So and then winner of that game will play. I don't even know who's on the other side of the brackets. That will be on Saturday, which will be during Matt's graduation party, actually. So definitely have to have that on during like while we're running around and everything too. Good stuff. So but moving on to the next topic of conversation, that will be about the Twitter, the tweet that I saw. And I will pull up that tweet right now. I don't have the screenshot. I'm just gonna read it out to you guys, actually. I should have had that pulled up, but that's okay. So the question was from Josh Yarboli, who is a pretty active member on the NBA Twitter. He comes up with pretty good questions. So he said, Carmelo Anthony, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Paul Pierce, and Jason Tatum. If to win a championship this season, all 5 are at their peak, or the peak we've seen thus far. Who is the best player here? Rank them for clarity. So I think the first step that we should do is we're going to go through each player, discuss when their peak was, and just talk about the type of player they are, so we can rank after that. So we'll go in the order that he had it. So Carmelo Anthony. Now I invited Matt's Knick fan friends to come on the show. None of them responded to the text, so they're a bunch of cowards for that. But that's okay. So I'll tell you right now. I'll give a little bit of a giveaway. Carmelo Anthony was not one of my lists on the TikTok video that I made, and I got a lot of the fans upset in the comments for sure. So first, the first thing I want to talk about is when was his peak exactly, Matt? When do you think his peak was?
So we were discussing this earlier before the show. We agree that peak is we're picking one season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's probably his 2012-2013 season on the Knicks. When he won the scoring title, and he actually received an MVP vote. The reason why LeBron wasn't unanimous.
That's right.
We won't have to comment if the MVP vote was from a New York beat reporter. So maybe it was a little biased, but I believe that's when his peak was.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think it's either 2012 or 2013 Melo, or in probably, I want to say it was 2010, which was the season prior to him getting traded to the Knicks in the middle of the season. Most Hooper fans like mostly just watching pure watching Hooper style, they love the idea of pickup basketball. They will tell you prime Melo was in his Denver days. That's not when Melo was at his best. His best was his game was much more polished when he was towards the beginning of his career in New York. He was much more mature. He was making better decisions as a playmaker. He was much more disciplined on defense, and as cool as it is that he had that one conference finals run. I think it was one conference. I'm pretty sure it's just one. Yeah, just one, right? Yeah, and then he lost to Kobe in the conference finals. As cool as it was, he had and people say he carried the team. That's not true at all. He had a really solid team around him. He had Chauncey Billups was one of the best playmakers in the league at the time. I forgot. He had he had some really solid defensive pieces around him as well. It was kind of similar to what AI did, but it was it was a really really solid team. And despite what people say, prime and I'm it's gonna sound like I'm kind of anti Carmelo right now, but like Carmelo Anthony was a phenomenal player, but between nostalgia and just pure hooper culture, he can get a little overrated sometimes. That's just my opinion on him.
Yeah, I think it is kind of similar, like what you said about like the pure hooper, that boy nice crowd.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar with like Paul George in the aspect where it's like his highlights are really smooth. And this is not, I'm not discrediting either of them, especially Carmelo Anthony. I believe is the best scorer on this list. I don't know if that's a hot take to you, but I think he's the best scorer on this list. But like you said, he was more disciplined in defense in New York. He was still a bad defender. He's what, 6'8", 6'9", big guy, and he couldn't defend because he was just lazy. So that definitely pushing him down on my list. But I saw your TikTok comments were kind of blowing up about you not having Melo 1. I do agree that it's like the nostalgia factor of like, growing up, all the Knicks fans, like he was their guy. So I think that's why they have him higher on the list. But it's about winning a championship. He's made it out of the second round once. I know his teams haven't been great, but still you make it out of the second round once. That is going to discredit you when talking about a conversation like this. So we're not giving our rankings yet, right? We're going to go through everybody first.
We're going to go through everyone first. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. I want to say where I have them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just looked it up. There was Kenyon Martin and Nene that were the solid defensive pieces that I was talking about. And then also young J.R. Smith was the sixth man as well. He that's pretty interesting. He was 23 years old on that team. And he was putting up really solid minutes. Up next, I believe the next guy was Jimmy Butler, who I think is one of the most polarizing players in the NBA today. Matt, what's your take on Jimmy Butler?
So I'm not going to disclose where I have him ranked, but I was going through it. I had him as high as 2, and I also had him at 5 when I made a couple lists ranking these, because it's to win a championship. And what he did with Miami, I know the Eastern Conference Finals in 2022 is a sore subject for us. Sorry, 2022, 2023 is a sore subject for us because obviously they beat our Celtics. He did play well that series, but he did not play the best. He was not the best player on the team that series. I believe it was Caleb Martin with the Heat Black Magic. But that run was insane. That team should not have made the finals, and he was the best player on that team that led them to the finals. So it's about winning a championship that's, that is very crucial to be able to carry these teams, carry bad teams far in the playoffs, and that's what he did. But he also, like, his pure numbers when comparing to these other guys, peak for peak, are not that impressive. Obviously, he's an elite defender, but his like pure scoring numbers, I think. What do you want to say his peak is? The bubble, like before the bubble year, or on the Timberwolves?
So on the Timberwolves, I didn't realize this actually until now. In the playoffs, he only averaged 15 points a game.
Yeah, he dropped off a lot.
Yeah. So, but which, by the way, like, I don't mean to cut your taking him off, but one more thing about the Minnesota. Not one more thing. One thing about the Minnesota Timberwolves that people don't quite understand. So that whole like him throwing a hissy fits, like and like the whole like you need me thing that people for some reason think was really cool. Which if any other player did that, he'd be considered a bad teammate. So I don't know why that's considered like a very cool story. So that's season the gap between the 3 seed. I think the 3 seed that season was the Blazers, if I'm not mistaken. In 2018, I'm pretty sure it was the Blazers. It could be wrong though. It was the Blazers because it was the Pelicans that beat them in the first round. So I think I knew the Pelicans were the 8th seed. I'm pretty sure like the gap between the Pelicans and the Blazers was literally 2 games. So like between the 3 and the 8th seed was 2 games. Had the Wolves and Jimmy Butler played like 60 something games. Had he played 77, like maybe, I'm not going to ask him to play all of you too. But had he played like 75 games, they could have ended up as the 3 seed. they would have played the Pelicans. They would have played someone else, but like they would have played the 5th seed, which usually like I'm sure I could figure that out, but like figure that out in a couple of seconds. We're not going to do that. They would have made it. They probably would have made it to the second round, and they would have had to play the Warriors. So I don't know what would have happened with Jimmy Butler, but the idea that they were just like an awful team and they were just an awful fit together, I don't think it's true at all. It's just, and they won a ton of games together. Most of the games where they lost were games without Jimmy Butler. So it's tough to determine what his peak is, just because obviously like the best version of Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, I think it's tough. Like you can either say it's the bubble, or you could also say that it's in 2020 in like his most recent years in the playoffs, just because as much as playoff Jimmy might be overhyped, there is some reality to him stepping up his game. 56 points against Giannis in 2022 game 7 where they lost. He had like 35 points. So I don't know which version I would take of Jimmy Butler at his best. I would probably say the most. I would probably say 2022, maybe. Yeah, I guess I'll say 2022. Because I feel like 2023 his best was like the peak of Jimmy Butler. Like one game was probably 2023, but I think he was more consistent in 2022, though, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know, because like we're also going to talk about Paul George in a bit, and like that's going to be a discussion as well. But yeah, I don't know where you want to have him. We don't necessarily have to agree on this, by the way. like when we're determining our rankings. Yeah.
It's so hard because like I originally thought it was going to be the Timberwolves 2018-2019 year, but then I saw he averaged 15 in the playoffs. So like that, that's not at his best, especially if we're talking about winning a championship. So I would probably say 2022.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then I believe the Paul George would have been the next one, right? Yeah, he was. So, okay. So Paul George is another interesting guy because I made this one of my first TikTok videos that blew up. Actually, there's blew up. I should say blew up as a small content. I think like the first one that got over 10,000 views or something was a video about Paul George's prime. So I think that Paul George's peak in the regular season was his last season in OKC 2019, where he finished 3rd place in MVP voting. However, let me pull it up right now. He averaged he lost in 5 games to the Blazers in the first round. He averaged 28.6, but he also shot pretty poorly from the field as well, if I'm not mistaken. He shot 43% from the fields and 31% from 4 turnovers too. Yeah. So you can argue that you want to take 2019 Paul George is the best one. You can also argue earlier in his prime. Obviously he went toe to toe with LeBron. He was obviously like the engine of that team. Roy Hibbert and George Hill were both solid pieces as well, which I feel like tends to happen with a lot of these teams. As we mentioned with Melo, like a lot of those role players were actually pretty solid players, but they just weren't really well known at the time. So I don't know where you would consider Paul George his peak.
I would say 2018, 2019. He did go deeper in the playoffs earlier with the Pacers in his career, went to 7 with LeBron, like prime LeBron, obviously. But just from a pure, I know counting stats aren't everything, but a pure counting stats, his last year on OKC was his best year. 3rd in MVP voting, 3rd in DPOY, 1st team All-NBA, 1st team All-Defense, I believe as well. So I would say that was his peak.
I agree. Very underrated Paul George actually is 2021, where he was 3rd team All-NBA. Kawhi played in the first round. I think he I think he played first 4 games. I want to say maybe first 4.5, but he definitely didn't play in the closeout game. But in the 2021 playoffs, Paul George averaged 27. Let me get my mouth close to the mic. So 27 points, 9.5 rebounds, 5 assists, 44% from the field, 34% from 3. So not great, but however, he was really the only offensive player on that team. So without Kawhi. So that's I'm going to take 2019 Paul George. I do want to appreciate, because people will say like how washed up he was with the Clippers. He was very solid in the first couple of years there, and it will be interesting to see him there. Did he really not play in 2022 and 2023 playoffs?
Paul George?
Wait, 2022 they didn't make it. In 2020, I guess 2023 didn't play. That's right. Yeah, neither him or Kawhi played in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. So next will be our guy Paul Pierce. So that's another interesting discussion because Pierce, I think, in my opinion, had hands down the worst supporting cast out of all these guys for the beginning of his prime.
Beginning, yes.
Yeah, for the beginning of his prime, hands down the worst peak. You can make the argument that those versions of Paul Pierce were his best versions. However, literally over one offseason, the Celtics trade for 2 Hall of Famers. One of them is a top 5 player at the time. The other one's like top 15, top 20, I want to say. Maybe top 15 is pushing it. And then also a young and up and coming point guard. They literally turned from a 15-win team into a 67-win team and would literally one of the best teams of all time. And Paul Pierce, despite I don't think he wasn't the best player on the team. He won Finals MVP though. Some people say Ray Allen should have deserved it. And I'm kind of on the fence about both of them. But I don't. I'm kind of on the fence as to where I want to put him as of now. What are your thoughts, Matt?
I think his peak was the year they won, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Sorry. 2007, 2008. I just think you win Finals MVP. I think if you have one ring and you win Finals MVP, I think that's just your best year. I don't think we should think too hard about it. I think maybe he was, technically better as a player in earlier years, but if I want to build a team around a Paul Pierce version, I'm going to build around 2007, 2008.
Not a bad decision at all. Give me 1 second. Judy Richards had some kids. Yeah, I'm taking a look at a couple of things right now.
I just want to say another thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Out of all these guys on this list, last second shot, I'm going with Paul Pierce. John mentioned it today. Clutch Gene, the truth. You don't get nicknamed the truth for no reason.
That's right.
He has been, just because he's an idiot in the media and he has some crazy takes, he is one of the most disrespected players from that era. He went toe-to-toe with prime LeBron multiple times. Some say he made LeBron run to Miami. But he is so disrespected. It's ridiculous. And I will not say it anymore.
Hey, listen, that's not us saying it. So, that's what other people said. It was 2002 was the year that he brought the Celtics to the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
That series he averaged 24, 8, and 4, so solid. That playoff run, I said 2002, he averaged 25, 9, and 4, so again really solid. And in the regular season, he averaged. The reason that I'm bringing up like the early version of Paul Pierce because people don't understand that how elite he was during that time. So he averaged 20. Yeah, again, so in the regular season it was 20. He was 26, 7, and 3. So he's never been the best playmaker, but and I guess the other thing is, I want to say like regular season peak, he wasn't as good as Melo or Paul George, but yeah, as Matt said, last second shots, no question, I'm putting Paul Pierce ahead of it, and I know that Dan Greenberg actually has like a whole article about why Paul Pierce is more clutch than LeBron, which based on the numbers, like again, so and the very last one, we made sure to save the last 2 guys for last. So Jason Tatum. This one's a little bit easier because we've been watching Jason Tatum develop in real time. I think I spent enough time talking about Jason Tatum last week. So Matt, why don't you give your take as to what you like, as to either what you think Jason Tatum's peak is, or where you think he should. I guess just what do you think his peak is, or like in other contenders.
Yeah, I saw last week you spent like 30 minutes talking about Jason Tatum. I don't think it was enough. I think you should have went over the hour and you just sort of talked about Jason Tatum the whole time. Speaking of Paul Pierce being disrespected, this is unbelievable how disrespected Jason Tatum is.
Yep.
And that's when he's just a certified top 5 player in the league. When people are he bricked the 3 and it was the biggest trending thing on Twitter. Nobody talked about Steph Curry going 1 for 9 and 0 6 from 3. It was just about Jason Tatum missing 1 shot. We can take 2 years for his peak, I want to say. It's either last year or this season. Obviously this season, NBA champion, certified champion, Jason Tatum. He sacrificed his numbers because, added Porzingis, added Drew Holiday. But you could also go with 2023 Jason Tatum, who averaged 30. I would say this year was the best version of Jason Tatum, and I think you agree. I'm not entirely sure, but I would say this year.
Absolutely agree. Someone made, I know that someone made a video a few weeks ago about how much they missed 2020 Jason Tatum because of the jump shot, which I don't want to say his jump shot isn't broken. Like he's like 42% on catch and shoot threes. It's just like, it's just the matter of him. I don't know if it was 42 or like it may be a little below than that, but it's definitely in the past 3 years. It's been definitely the past 3 years. It's like in 41, 42% on catch and shoot threes. So it's a matter of him being able to shoot off the dribble, which is his biggest problem. Which when you gain that much muscle, it's going to be pretty tough to become that type of to be that great of a shooter. But
yeah, it's Chris, hold on. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, keep going. Yeah,
this also sure, Jason Tatum's jump shot in 2020 looked a little nicer, looked a little smoother. But this is why Twitter is so annoying. It's like the thing like we were talking about with nostalgia. Like you watch highlights, it's like, oh, that play is nice. Jason Tatum is so much better now than he was in 2020. Yep. It's not even close. It's not even close.
His and because the thing is, people also remember his February before, like the month before the league shut down. That was when that was like the first version that we saw Jason Tatum becoming that guy. Mm-hmm. Like it was like that month where it officially became, okay, it's official. Jason Tatum is the best player in the Celtics. He's better than Kemba Walker at this point. So people just remember that saying, and the fact that he just didn't become so much better at that time is let's see. I don't know if that's your friend Cam, but it's off topic. It's about Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards is playing great basketball right now. He's playing great on offense and defense, leading the team in points and steals. Yeah, great points. Yeah, Anthony Edwards has been playing awesome.
He has been a great game today.
Yeah, but back to the actual face of Team USA. Maybe his jump shooting isn't as great now, but he put on the muscle to become one of the best defenders in the league. He's not, and my sentence about Jason Tatum on defense. He's not a good defender. He's an elite defender. Top 10 might be pushing it. He's absolutely a top 15, top 20 defender in the league. There are not many players that are top 20 in defense and top 10 in offense. I don't know who else. I'm sure that Giannis, obviously. Maybe Jimmy Butler, but he's not a top 20 defender. Never mind. Not at this point in his career.
He's not top 10 on offense either.
No, he's not. Absolutely not. Embiid, obviously. I'm sure that I'm blanking out.
I don't know if he's top 20 on offense, but he is an elite two-way player.
He's a
top 20 on defense. He's definitely top 20 on offense. So.
He's top 5 on offense, absolutely. But top 20. When you're that small, it's tough to be we saw Jason Tatum be the roamer on defense, like guarding like the rim, and we also saw him guarding Luka Doncic at the end of games. Mm-hmm. So there really isn't much to be.
Anthony Edwards as well.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards was 10th.
Message, yeah, Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, 10th. Yeah,
I don't know if he's a top 20 defender, but he's definitely in the conversation.
10th. Okay, so only thing I will say to that statement is, defensive rating, I think is very flawed. Just because it's based on team rating, and Rudy Gobert, who I'm a huge fan of, was the main reason for that. So I'll definitely I'm not questioning Anthony Edwards' defense though. He's a fantastic defender. Mm-hmm. But Matt, I don't know if you had anything more to say about that. If you could just talk about Tatum for like about another minute. I just have to grab my laptop charger real quick because I forgot it in the other room. But if you want to go on for another minute, there, I'm sure you can.
20 minutes, I can go on about Jason Tatum. But yeah, like AH said, like Chris said, people bring up Jason Tatum's inefficiency in the finals, which is a very fair criticism. However, he was the guy that guarded the 5. He guarded the 5, so on the pick and rolls, he could switch on to Luka, and they didn't have to have old man out there in the perimeter. But yeah, he's I would say at his peak, the best defender out of these 5. I am leaning towards probably Paul George in his peak might have been a better defender He was third in DPOY and first team all defense, which Tatum does not have yet. So I would say he's the second best defender out of these five. But yeah, elite two-way player.
Okay. Sorry, you said he was the second best defender out of the five?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you say? Second or third?
I think
Paul George. I think Paul George is the best defender out of these five at his peak.
I agree. Yeah, I can agree with that. He's first team all defense.
Then
again,
Jimmy Butler. We'll say Jimmy Butler. It's definitely not Pierce or Melo.
No, it's not. Okay, so yeah, easily. Okay. So let's go through our lists. I was debating on whether or not we should do back and forth, but yeah, you could do your five. You could do your five actually right now.
All right, so I'm gonna go 5-1.
You may go 5-1. Yeah.
All right, so at 5, this might ruffle some feathers. I have Jimmy Butler. Like we said, we were arguing what his peak was. His best regular season year, he averaged 15 in the playoffs, and his best playoff season, he took the regular season off, which he does. It's really tough to rate Jimmy Butler because of availability and if he's taking the regular season or playoff seriously. My number 4 is someone who you had pretty high on your list, Chris, is Paul George. A criticism of his is his peak. He only played 5 games in the playoffs that year. And his supporting cast was good. That Thunder team was pretty good. They had Russ was 2 years or 1 year off his MVP. I want to say 2 years off his MVP.
2 years, yeah.
He did piss down his leg in the playoffs, but still, Paul George, third in MVP voting. You should be able to beat Dame and the Blazers. Third on my list, I have in my opinion, maybe Tatum's a better scorer than him, but I don't think so. I think Melo's a better scorer than him. I have Carmelo Anthony. Supporting cast at his peak, I would say Melo has had the worst supporting cast. The best player he's ever played with is, like you said, on the Nuggets, probably Chauncey Billups. He did have a solid supporting cast on the Nuggets, but his peak on the Knicks, they were a good team, but they were not competing with the Heat those years. So I have Carmelo Anthony. A lot of people saying he should be 1 on this list are incorrect. Nostalgia getting in the way. He is 3. At number 2, I have the most clutch player on this list, Paul Pierce. We talked about it earlier. Absolute dog, the only Finals MVP on this list. If we're talking about winning a championship, Paul Pierce is one of those guys you build around. At number 1, I have the best player on this list. Best player and the easiest to build around, Jason Tatum.
Fantastic stuff. So our list is it's pretty different, honestly, but like we're really split. For most of this, you're splitting hairs. So like I don't think I don't think you can go too wrong here. However, at my number 5, I do have Carmelo Anthony, and as I mentioned, I think he's an awesome player. But, and this is going to sound like I hate him, but I don't. All of his flaws are everything that I hate about certain players. He plays no defense. He's an awful playmaker, and he falls asleep in the playoffs. Not falls asleep, but he's a playoff dropper. I can't build around you with that. And like if I want to win a bunch of games, if I want a guy who's going to play great in the regular season, Melo's going to be a good guy to build around. He's not going to be a guy that I want to build around in the playoffs, though. Which I know, as you mentioned, he didn't have the best supporting cast. Like Chauncey Billups and Amari Stoudemire, like his 2 best teammates, probably, in his prime, because he did eventually end up joining Russ and PG. I have a very hard time building around someone like that.
His best EFG as a Knick in the playoffs was 43%. That's disgusting.
I can't do that. Yeah, I cannot build around that, which I know, which we actually have a good amount of people viewing the pod now, which is pretty cool. But like, I guess none of them are chronically online Melo fans, because I'm surprised that we haven't seen anyone saying you're just looking at the numbers. You had to watch the game. Those guys.
Yeah, all those guys that were like 10 while Carmelo Anthony was playing. Like,
speaking of the oh no, watch the game. Don't worry about the numbers. At number 4, I have Jimmy Butler. So, and yeah, is part of this bitter the fact that he beat the Celtics in 2023 and 2020? I don't think so, because we did eventually because we beat them in 2022 and then we just won the damn final. So there's not much to be bitter about anymore. And all the comments are, "Oh, Jimmy has beaten Tatum." I don't care about head-to-head matchups. So again, in that case, Joel Embiid's better than Jokic. I really don't give a crap. I care about I care about who is at their best. And Tatum was not at his best in 2022 or 2023. 2023, he twisted his damn ankle in Game 7. Like, get the fuck
the
out
first
of here.
touch.
Yeah. Like, it's gee, another F bomb again in this
Yeah.
pod. Yeah. Okay. Like, no, Jimmy Butler, awesome player. Like and he's the complete opposite of Melo, which is like in like the sense like of all of his weaknesses. He is he elevates his game in the playoffs, and he plays solid defense. So it's tough to it's tough to like refute against that. But however, I do think these three guys are better players at basketball. 2 and 3 was really a toss up for me, and maybe I'm trying to be too objective here, where I'm not picking the Celtic. But 3, I'm going to go with Paul Pierce. My issue with Paul Pierce is simply his peak, and simply he did like he made it to the conference finals once without Garnett. So it's like you're really splitting hairs here. And my other issue with Pierce is that the only year that he finished top 10 in MVP, like I think it was the only year that he finished top 10 in MVP voting was 2009. And that was the year after he won Finals MVP. So some people argue that was only because he only won that. He only went that far, only because it was like, oh, he just won Finals MVP. He's better than we think he is. So which he is better than like the awards say that he is. But yeah, so that's tough. But yeah, number 2, I do with Paul George. I think that he's hands down like as you mentioned, I think he's the best defensive player here. Probably the second best offensive player here too. If we're talking about like the whole offensive game, I think he's a better. I'm very confidently taking him over Melo on offense. Even Melo's a better scorer. I think that Paul George is a significantly better playmaker, and he's also the better shooter as well. So yeah, probably the second best offensive player there. And then number 1, very easily taking Tatum. He's the only Pierce won Finals MVP, but Tatum is the only guy who won a Finals as the undisputed number 1. We love Jaylen Brown. We love him to death. He was not the best player in the Celtics. He won both. He won both Conference Finals MVP and Finals MVP. Jaylen, you're welcome on the show anytime. We want to have you on the show. By the way, and we will take back anything that we said for you to come on the show. But Tatum's the guy, and he's and yes, this team is probably better than any team besides the 08 Celtics as far as it goes for supporting casts. At the end of the day, the Celtics didn't have their start, and I wrote a 4-log card about this. They didn't have their starting center for most of the season, and not most of the season, most of the playoffs. Drew Holiday was traded on October 1st, right before training camp. They traded their leader over the offseason, which I know people say that was addition by subtraction. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. The fact that they made the finals in 2022, and then a week before training camp, their coach, who was beloved by the players, was fired. Jason Tatum has dealt with a lot throughout his entire career, and the fact that he just caught a couple breaks this time around, I really don't feel bad. I really don't feel bad about it. Him winning a ring, people say like, oh, he had such an easy path. Even if he did have easy paths, which it was easier than most traditional ones, you can nitpick every single one. Mm-hmm. Jason Tatum is very, very easily the best player in this list, and I don't want to say it's not close, but I'm very, very confident. And I know we're doing it strictly by peak. Jason Tatum has 3 first-team All-NBAs. That is more than everyone else here combined. I think that Melo has 1 and PG has 1. Jimmy and Pierce do not have 1. Yeah. So I have a very hard time with anyone saying anyone but Tatum at number 1.
Yeah, it's just like the cool thing to hate on Jason Tatum now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he's clearly the best player out of these 5. And I had a Knick fan. I was talking about this list with my Knick fan friend Dean. Shout out Dean, and he actually had Paul Pierce over Jason Tatum for the first pick, which I disagree with. But he had Tatum at 2. So, as a Jason Tatum hater, that just proves how elite he is.
Exactly. Okay. So, yeah, I wish the John was here to bring a different perspective into the discussion because all of us have a very different opinion on Jason Tatum. So, for those of you who are first time viewers, that's sarcasm. John is a big fan of Tatum as well. So
I think John would still be arguing at you over the fact that you didn't have Jimmy Butler 5, you had him at 4.
probably. Yeah, that was no. And I'm so the reason that I'm upset at your friends is because we had like a very heated argument over Jimmy Butler being overhead of Carmelo, and then they didn't. Not only did they not respond to the text, not only did they not respond to the invite, they didn't respond to the text about my video. Like, what the hell is that about?
They're fake.
Also,
They're fake.
Yeah, massive fake. I'm not going to call John Cassidy fake because he's been on the show before. And he's a friend of the pod. And he's also very busy as well. He has a great job as well. So I can't really complain too much about him. But okay. So last topic of discussion. We have plans. We have 12 minutes. So we're gonna do ranking the all the not all of them. I didn't do all 30 point guards because that would have been a lot. Even though I probably already did that. But we're going to discuss our top 10 point guards of today. More specifically, ranking the 10 point guards. This is best players. We could do a would you rather, like for like certain amount of players towards the end. But this is solely the best players, like who you would want to build around, for now. For next year. So, Matt, as long as you have your list ready, you can take it away.
Okay. Should I do 10 to 1?
Hang on.
Go, chat.
Jack, how we doing? Also friend of the pod. Yeah. Okay. Yes, you can go 10 to 1. Yes.
10 to 1. And just to clarify, top 10 point guards in the league, not counting Devin Booker, correct?
We are not counting Devin Booker. That's correct.
Okay. So to start off my list, I have somebody who's on the worst team in the league last year at Cade Cunningham at number 10.
Ooh.
At number 9, I have Drew Holiday, NBA champion, 2-time. Shout out the Bucks for giving him to reason. At number 8, I have Tyrese Halliburton. I was between 7 and 8. I was between at 8 I have Halliburton. At 7 I have Tyrese Maxey.
Okay.
At number 6 I have Ja Morant. At number 5 I have De'Aaron Fox.
Okay.
At number 4 I have Steph Curry. At number 3 I have Jalen Brunson, 2 SGA, and 1 Luka. If we want to refute or anything, I would say, well, you give your list, and we can do like would you rather.
I agree. Yes. Okay. So, and I really like how you had two. Okay, you left off 2 enemies of the show on the, off the list because I do have those 2 enemies on my list. Do you know who those 2 guys are?
I'm assuming the inefficient shot chucker from Milwaukee.
Yes.
Damian Lillard, polar bear in
Yes.
Arlington, Texas, does not deserve to be top 10.
Okay.
And who is the other?
Is the other inefficient shot chucker in the Eastern Conference?
Trae Young, you have on this list.
I do have Trae Young on this list. So more specifically, Trae Young is number 10 on my list. Then I have then I have Tyrese Maxey at 9. Then I have Tyrese Halliburton at 8. Then I have Damian Lillard at 7. Then I have De'Aaron Fox at 6. Ja Morant at 5. Jalen Brunson at 4. Steph Curry at 3. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 2, and Luka Doncic at 1.
I think Jack LaSalle and Dean will be happy you have Jalen Brunson in your top 10. I thought the hate will continue and he would have been left off your list.
Not that much, not that much. Maybe I'm still underrating him by having him below Steph, but that's more so over respect of Steph. It's not a disrespect to Brunson, who Brunson was better than him in the regular season, both the regular season and the playoffs, because Steph didn't play in the playoffs. But I'm still very confident in Steph Curry that he's gonna either make. I'm not confident he's gonna make the playoffs actually because they really stink. But so I don't know where to rank Steph.
This is I don't either because obviously it's Steph Curry, but if it's a 2024 projection, I do think Jalen Brunson's team will perform better than the Warriors in 2024, and I think Jalen Brunson will be a better player than him in 2024. So that's why I had him at 3 and Curry at 4.
Okay, so you had Cade Cunningham at 10, right?
I did. I was between Cade or not Dame or Trae Young. I was between Cade or LaMelo Ball. However, LaMelo Ball played 22 games last year, and he's kind of inefficient. And he's a great player, but I don't know. It's just like he never plays, and I feel like he's one of the guys that doesn't really care either.
So I lied. I'm not going to give my top 30, but I am going to have her give my 11 through 16, just so I can cover my steps with Matt's list. So at 11, I have Jamal Murray. 12, I have James Harden. 13, Drew Holiday. 14, LaMelo Ball. 15, Darius Garland. 16, Cade Cunningham. If you're expecting that jump from Cade Cunningham, I can't blame you at all. LBJ is not a point guard. Stop that. It's not 2020 anymore. It's D'Angelo Russell, who I think I had either chest outside or chest inside my top 20. I think. Okay, so Drew Holiday, we could be the first discussion. We love Drew Holiday. He just helped us win a championship. Not only helped us, he was a main part of winning the championship. He was easily the top 3 player in the finals. Probably a top 3 player throughout the entire playoffs. If we want to really get into that. His role, however, is what makes me question it. So when I had Hoop Venue on 2 weeks ago, like one thing that he discussed when making his list is you're making this list. So if you want to win a championship, who would you rather have? So if I'm doing it based on who I want to win a championship, as a third or fourth option, I want Drew Holiday over James Harden 10 times out of 10. If I want to win a bunch of games, as the first option, I want James Harden 10 times out of 10. So as the first or second option, yeah, go ahead.
I think as a first option, that's a fair take about James Harden. I don't think that's a fair take as a second option.
No,
Drew Holiday was technically a second option in Milwaukee in 2021. No, would you say it's more Chris Middleton?
In the playoffs, I would say it's more Chris Middleton, just because in the playoffs we saw Drew Holiday be the second option. He completely shit his pants against Jimmy Butler. So and just like the whole I do feel like the Bucks misused him. Like even when he was the second option, he still shouldn't be getting as many touches as he should have. He had a higher usage. Like he had more touches per possession than Giannis did. That shouldn't happen at all. It's because the Celtics used him perfectly, like putting him in like having him be like the primary defender of the perimeter while also being the third or fourth scorer, playmaker. So like they used him perfectly. The Bucks misused him completely. So finding that middle ground is tough, but second option, I'm pretty comfortably taking Harden over him. Who else was on my list ahead? LaMelo Ball, you made a great point on.
I think I have. I'm gonna make a change to that. I think I have Jamal Murray and maybe James Harden over LaMelo. Not James Harden. I have Jamal Murray over LaMelo Ball, I would say.
Jamal Murray, Jamal Murray has had it's been a really tough couple weeks for the Jokic has too much help agenda because he played awful in the playoffs and then and then for the whole playoffs he played awful for the second half of the Wolves series and played awful in the Olympics. So it's very 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 tough for anti-Jokic guys right now.
You could say he played awful in the playoffs. Like he did hit a couple clutch shots against the Lakers, but
sure, yeah.
Like I think he had maybe 2 good games against the Lakers, but he had a couple clutch shots. But before that, he didn't play well. I mean, for the entire playoffs this year, he shot 40%, 31.5 from 3. That's just, and then I mean, I'm not taking a ton of stock into the Olympic Games while making these lists, but he was horrible in the Olympics too. I mean, it's he's really tough to rank. That's why he's outside of my top 10, just because his regular season and most recent playoffs. I think the guys ahead of him are better.
Mm-hmm. So you had Cade at 10, you had Drew at 9. Who'd you have at 8 again? Was it Halliburton or Maxey?
Halliburton.
Okay. I had Halliburton at 8 as well, and Maxey at 9. So the reason that I have Halliburton slightly ahead of Maxey was simply because of the we saw him like carry the Pacers carry the Pacers offense, I should say, to like one of the best offenses in the league. So that's why I have him ahead of Maxey there. But Zero, if you want to have Maxey ahead of him because he was slightly better in the playoffs. Maxey was better against the Knicks than Maxey. Maxey was better against the Knicks than Halliburton was. Yes. But as the first option, I'm gonna take Halliburton. I think
it's a very fair take. Talking about first option. But what I saw from Tyrese Maxey's playoffs, was really incredible.
Absolutely.
Joel Embiid again, did his signature move in the playoffs, which is disappear and pee down his leg. And Tyrese Maxey really took the reins. I expect the Sixers to be better this year than the Pacers. And Maxey averaged 30 in the playoffs this year.
Sure.
But I think, I was very in between them. I think as a first option, Halliburton, you could take Halliburton, but I have Maxey.
And would you have Fox? Did you have Fox did you have Fox in your top 5?
I had Fox at 5. I had Ja at 6.
Okay. Yes, we flipped those two. We flipped those two as well. That's another that's another toss up if you want to say like Ja was better in 2022 and 2023, but injuries are a factor. Fox played awesome this past year. Fox is going to have a better supporting cast this year, better than last year. I don't know if the Grizzlies. I don't know if the Grizzlies are better, but that should be interesting as well. I do not want to spend the last 2 minutes of this podcast talking about Damian Lillard. No, thank you.
I think last year he didn't stay healthy. He was super inefficient, and they had high expectations, and they absolutely failed. They were a first round exit, and you might say it's because he was not healthy. That is a negative. It's because he was not healthy. That's why he's outside of my top 10.
And I understand that, but like I am literally everything going on last year. They fired their coach. Everything going wrong. I still question their perimeter defense. Their defense is still very much in question, especially with Brook Lopez becoming another year older. Chris Middleton another year older. So those are very valid claims. But however, this will be the year to determine whether the Bucks can be contenders for the next couple of years. So this will, if they fall apart in the playoffs this year, it will be the year for a lot. It'll be in question for a lot of players. Is Dame a top point guard in the league anymore? Is Giannis a top 3 player in the league at this point? If you lose in the first round, I don't think you can justify Giannis being a top 3 player at this point. But yeah, so lots and lots of things to consider there. We're kind of approaching the end of the show now. I kind of wish that we had a better closing points to address, but not much to complain about here.
Just like are you wrapping it up?
Okay. Do you have something else to say?
Yeah, I just want to shout out Jack LaSalle. Shot a 93 the other day, I believe. First time breaking 100.
Oh boy!
Congratulations, Jack. We're very proud.
I'm very proud as well, Jack, even though I don't play golf at all. So, so easy. So, do you know what that is, Matt? Like the guy, do you see those comments?
Yeah, I don't know who,
okay.
Who Rich Boy Rob is, but,
Rich Boy Rob.
Simply not a point guard.
He's not a point guard, but we really do. Yeah, we really do appreciate the back and forth. That's also like we appreciate any feedback, and we appreciate plenty of negative feedback because like comments. Those get those count as well. Okay, but Matt, welcome back. Thanks so much for coming on the show again. Hopefully you'll be back next. Yeah, you'll be back next week as well. For episode 36. That will be our Marcus Smart episode. So perfect timing. Make sure to follow All American Hooper on all social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to @SportsFluent on YouTube to catch every episode Tuesday nights. Also follow @SportsFluent on Instagram. On Instagram and Twitter, and TikTok as well. I think that take a look at my columns on primetimesportstalk.com. I haven't written an article in a couple weeks, but those will be coming out soon as well. This has been another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. Finish it off. Drink water. Don't drink and drive. Do not text and drive. That's another thing I'm adding. Put on a suit and call your mother. Call your mother. She's going to love to hear from you. Have a great night, everyone.